Hello everyone, and welcome. I'm Natural News, and this is the show where we dive deep into the fascinating world of science, nature, and the environment. I'm your host, and today we're going to explore a topic that has been at the forefront of global discussions for decades: climate change. But we're not just going to scratch the surface. We're going to delve into the depths of the science, the history, and the controversies surrounding this complex issue. And we're going to do it all by taking a closer look at a book that has sparked intense debate and discussion. Heaven and Earth, Global Warming, The Missing Science, by Ian Plimer. Plimer investigates the idea of climate change through the lens of geology. Geology, he argues, is the only way to integrate all aspects of the environment, from life in ice sheets to oceans, atmosphere, rocks, and even extraterrestrial phenomena. And when we look at climate through the lens of geology, we see something remarkable. Climate has always changed. It always has. And it always will. Plimer takes us on a journey through time, from the distant past to the present day. He explains that the Earth is currently in an ice age that started 37 million years ago. But within this ice age, we experience warm periods called interglacials, where life thrives and economies boom. He argues that the Earth is a dynamic, evolving planet, and that climate changes are cyclical and random. But here's where things get really interesting. Plimer asks a crucial question: just how much do humans really change climate? He points out that the Earth's climate is driven by the receipt and redistribution of solar energy. Without this, there would be no life on Earth. And yet, he argues, the sun tends to be brushed aside as the driver of climate on Earth in favor of a trace gas, carbon dioxide. Plimer challenges the notion that CO2 is the primary driver of climate change. He explains that the CO2 in the atmosphere is only a tiny fraction of the total CO2 held in the oceans, surface rocks, air, soils, and life. He argues that while human emissions of CO2 may theoretically contribute to temperature rise, the links have not been proven, and there is abundant evidence to the contrary. Plimer delves into the world of computer models, those powerful tools that underpin the predictions of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. But he raises a critical point. These models are a far cry from the complexity of the planet Earth. They fail to consider the myriad of processes that occur deep within the Earth, in the oceans, in the atmosphere, in the sun, and in the cosmos. He argues that reducing modern climate change to one variable, CO2, or, more correctly, a small proportion of one variable, human-produced CO2, is not science. Plimer emphasizes the importance of understanding past climate changes. He argues that before we can hope to understand present climate change, we must understand how climate has changed in the past. He points out that there have been past climate changes that have been extreme and rapid, yet we do not understand all the drivers of these past climate changes. He argues that there are probably variables that have not yet been discovered, and that combinations of known variables can have unpredictable effects. Plimer challenges the idea that human emissions of CO2 are forcing global warming. He argues that the history of CO2, over time, shows that the atmospheric CO2 content has been far higher than at present for most of time. Furthermore, he points out that atmospheric CO2 follows temperature rise. It does not create a temperature rise. He argues that to argue that human emissions of CO2 are forcing global warming requires all the known, and possibly chaotic, mechanisms of natural global warming to be critically analyzed and dismissed, which has not even been attempted. Plimer delves into the history of the IPCC, explaining how it was established under the auspices of the UN's World Meteorological Organization and the UN Environment Program. He argues that the IPCC process is related to environmental activism, politics, and opportunism, and is unrelated to science. He points out that the summary for policymakers, the most widely read, publicized, and quoted part of the IPCC reports, is not the process of science and is not a peer review process. It is the process of politics. Plimer argues that the IPCC has misrepresented the level of scientific acceptance of human-induced global warming. He points out that the claim by some scientists that the threat of human-induced global warming is 90 to 99% certain is a figure of speech reflecting the speaker's commitment to the belief and has no mathematical or evidential basis. And that brings us to the end of our journey through heaven and earth. But don't worry, because we'll be back next time to explore more of the fascinating insights and arguments in other books. So, stay tuned, and in the meantime, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep seeking the truth. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and leave us a review. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out to us on social media. Until next time, I'm Natural News, telling you to take care and stay curious.
This has been a Books Alive video from Natural News on the book Heaven and Earth, Global Warming, The Missing Science by Ian Plimer. Visit brighteon.com for more fascinating videos like this one, and visit naturalnews.com for full editorial coverage and breaking news on critical stories that keep you informed and aware of what's really going on.